So, welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast. Gail, it's great to have you on the show.
I'm thrilled to be here.
So,
Really am.
you're very welcome. So, Gail, tell the listeners about you and what was the driving force of you becoming a writer?
Well, the driving force was a long time coming. I wrote a little bit when I was very young and did pretty well, but I didn't take that on as a career or anything like that. But when I went through a divorce that was pretty traumatic, I started reading a lot. And I would read testimonial stories that women had and experiences that they had. And I got to thinking, I could be writing this. And so that's when I started collecting experiences that were happening to me at the time, and I would write them up. And I was fortunate, I went to a conference. I was fortunate to have a teacher there that said, if you really want people to hear you read what you write, you need to write articles, not books, because more people will see it. So I took her at her word and I started submitting articles, and I was very fortunate to get some articles published, and that kind of gave me some momentum. And then ultimately, long story short, I took a lot of those separate experiences and compiled them into a book, and it's worked out pretty well. But the thing is, I had a passion within me to share. And I think that you got to have something like that that propels you, that makes you want to get the word out. I have a quote here on my I have this antique typewriter, and
Mhm.
I have this quote on here that says, and it's a quote from a book called The Herdsman. I think it's about Hosea,
Mhm.
Old Testament. You
Mhm.
don't know what it is, something within you, consuming, compelling to save your own soul, must speak. And so it's not like I just started thinking, oh, I'll just write something. It was something within me had to come out. I had to share these experiences with other women.
Mhm. So Gail, what are the stories like? What are you writing, the articles? What did you write about? Is it like a specific um genre or what exactly is it that you were writing about?
All of my writing has been a personal experience story.
Hmm.
I'm more of a storyteller with a purpose. And so each one of the articles is a story about something I experienced, but told in such a way to motivate or inspire other women
Hmm.
who might be going through something similar. In fact, I've had women tell me, you're talking to me because this is my experience. Well, I think that reaches all of us when we can communicate with somebody who has had even something similar to what we're experiencing.
So Gail, how many books have you published so far? And are you working on any new books, any new projects, any new articles?
Yes, well, I have this one book, but I have stories in several other books, compilations that other people collect stories and put into a book. So I have some of those. And I have a booklet now called The ABCs of Wisdom. And that goes through the alphabet, using each letter of the alphabet. These were all published in a local newspaper before I put them into a booklet, which people can find on my website. And that's another little thing. I've written for books like school arts because I was an art teacher at one time, so I've written articles that way. But mostly I stick with inspirational and motivational things for women, especially single moms.
Wow. So how long are your articles? Is it like 5 minutes long? Is it 10-minute long?
They're very short. The thing that I learned is if you want to be published, and I don't know how many of your listeners want to be published, but if you want to be published, then you're going to have to follow the rules that the publishers have set out. You can't write something that you think is marvelous and submit it to them and say, well, you should publish this. What they told me at this conference, I had written an article and it got a good review. And I met with an editor and he said, do you think you could write a 500-word article that would appear on one page in this magazine? Well,
Mm.
this is a national magazine, a big circulation. And I thought I'll do whatever he wants.
Mhm.
But sometimes I run into people who think, well, I've written something really good, but they should take it however I wrote it. The thing is, you have to listen to the publishing people because they have their regulations, they have their magazine layout. And so, sure enough, he says, and on top of that, he said, I want you to interview several people. He wanted me to write about going back to college as a single mother. And he wanted me to interview people across the country. I don't know how much money I spent, but I got a phone thing and I got online and I did. I interviewed people who were going back to school, single parents from various parts of the country, because that's what the publisher wanted. And it got published. And that was a start for me, a good start because it was a national magazine, well recognized at the time.
Mhm.
So once you have something published like that, the next time you submit something, you can say, I was published here. And that means a whole lot to them, is if you can say that. They pay attention to that. Of course, now they're going to pay attention to podcasts too.
Mhm.
They like that.
Now, Gail, you do a lot of stuff on social media? Do you take some of your writings and do you kind of put it on social media? Like everything now is social media based. How does that work for you now?
Well, I'm working on that every day. There's so much social media to glean through and figure out what to do with. So I had to get some help, but I've made a decision that my primary social media will be Instagram and YouTube. And of course, Instagram's connected to Facebook, so sometimes it comes up on Facebook. The thing is, I do put in tips more right now, more than long stories or anything. I try to, because people want brevity. They get online, they want to get on and get off. I don't know. That's the way it is. You have to live life on life's terms. You have to do it the way it's done. You can't just say, well, I'm a creative person. I'm going to do it this way. Well, that might work for some people, but it's not going to work in the industry very well. I did get my book picked up by a publisher, and that was because of being on LinkedIn with somebody, but and knowing somebody that this person also knew because I trained under someone that was pretty well known. Okay, so what I'm getting at to anyone who's listening is find out what works. YouTube works
Hmm.
and look at other people's and see what they're doing and see what is successful and then copy that a little bit. Be innovative, of course, but I know that I'm picking up more on YouTube than I am anywhere. Now I do a newsletter and that's a good thing too because that's targeted
Hmm.
directly to my email base, my
Hmm.
database. And that's another thing everyone needs to know is you have got to build that email base because when people still like it or not, when people get an email, that's more direct. It goes directly into their email box. It's not something that they have to happen upon on Facebook. It's not something they even have to happen upon on Instagram, which is very big, is becoming big and bigger all the time. But I use Canva.
Hmm.
It's really powerful. And there's some great
Hmm.
uh, videos on YouTube about Canva and how to use it. So I'm learning all about that. And I use that to create. I take an audio and put it into a podcast frame. And I have a bunch of audios because I was on the radio for 10 years. I
Hmm.
did these 1 minute spots. And so I'm taking those and putting them on social media now.
Nice.
And they're all related to the same topics that I cover.
So,
You know,
so Gail, tell the listeners where I know you mentioned Facebook and Instagram, but can you tell them like your page? How can they get connect with you? Like, what is your
yes,
Instagram page and your Facebook page? Yeah.
my look under Gail,
Mhm.
Gail, Showalter. That's Showalter, Showalter on Facebook and Instagram. But my byline is the old bird with feathers of wisdom for women and a soft spot for single moms. That is where you could find me probably on YouTube that way too. but I'm there. I mean, it's not hard to find me. There's not too many of people with my name. That makes it a little easier. You probably have that too.
So,
Clean.
yeah, Cleanne, yeah. So Gail, where can the listeners get a copy of your book?
It's available for pre-order right now on Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
And I think it's also on Amazon, but I favor Barnes and Noble. And we have hard copies there. We hope that they will have them available, but they should be able to order them if you wanted them. But they're the books are going to be out September the 9th, maybe. But right now you can pre-order and you can actually write reviews or whatever. But yeah, that's where they are.
Sounds great. So, Gail, do you have any last words for the listeners on finding and empowering wisdom
Within
themselves?
within. Take time. My whole first chapter is on solitude.
Mhm.
I do have a chapter later in the book, self awareness, boundaries, as well as prayer. But you have to be willing to be in solitude. If you want to hear the voice to give you good direction, take some time in solitude. And a lot of single moms run away from that. They try to, they get on the phone, they get on their little text and all this, got to communicate with people, got to connect with people. No, you need to connect with that person within that
Mhm.
will talk to you in the silence. Very important.
Gail, that's very powerful. I think today that I have learned a lot from you. Gail, thank you for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
I love you. I love what you're doing. You can see the pictures of my ladies that we have helped, these single moms up here. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, we have a bunch of them and we're very proud of them. Yeah.
Yes, you're doing a great job.